Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well on this Wednesday morning. I'm running just a little bit later than expected on this Wednesday morning for our morning roast. This morning we are talking about a really important question here. Is it pain or is it attitude? This is kind of the number one question that is always asked and will always continue to be asked, and I think is probably one of the most important ones, because this question, is it pain or is it attitude, is one that was not asked enough, I don't think anymore, or not anymore, I should say. It wasn't once asked as much. We used to think, for example, that a horse that had that white hairs on its withers was a good broke horse, you know uh, because it's seen a lot of wear and tear, and what that really meant was that a saddle was not fitting onto the horse, and it was rubbing onto the horse's withers, and we wondered why it may have bucked, or maybe why it did what it did or whatever. And all of this basically meant was that horses, we didn't take care of them well enough. And so the question, is it pain or is it attitude, is one I think that needs to be asked more frequently overall. So with that kind of in mind, I want to just take a moment and go over, is it pain or is it attitude? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say that I think you need to always you should always just assume that it's pain first before you assume that it's attitude, because so many times there are so many stressors in the horse's life that, as we all know, I think the astounding number of percentage of horses that have ulcers is in the 90s. 90% of all horses have ulcers. Why do they have ulcers? What is it that has created these ulcers? And these ulcers can create such behavioral issues. Now, a lot of times we do it, because we're humans, we go after something specific and say, hey, I see ulcers, we're going to correct the ulcers, fix the ulcers, all the problems go away. Yes and no with that. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you go after the ulcers, you give it something like Ulcer Guard, a few weeks later the ulcers are gone. But you have to ask the very important question, why were the ulcers there? How did they get there? And the question always, or the answer to that question is always what you need to find. Solve the why, and the ulcers won't come back. Don't solve the why, the ulcers can come back. Now, I know I feel like I'm going off on a tangent on this, but I'm using ulcers as kind of a understanding that with this, basically with this ulcer type problem, we see so many behavioral issues that go on with that. Horses just get really frustrated, pissy, ear pinny. Some horses get really short strided, really suck their belly up type thing. They're bad to saddle, bad to girth. You touch your leg on them and they get snarl faced. And we start to wonder all of these things, how dare you kind of be bad about this? I think it's attitude, and most of the time it's not. In fact, I've really changed my training method to always assuming that it's pain first, fix the pain, and the attitude is much better. Now, mind you, there are some things that if a horse has had pain for so long, has traveled in such a way for so long, that there is kind of a muscle memory of pain that the horse can carry around. Even though it may not be in pain, the horse can carry it around. And I don't think it's something that is like something you should discipline necessarily for, but you should try to help them get through it. So there are so many different parts of pain that could become problematic. For example, I remember working with this one horse that was a huge bucker, and it just would constantly buck. All that we did, this was way back in my earlier days, all that we did to work with this horse wasn't working. Like, we'd get through it, in that ride, but then would happen again and again and again. And lo and behold, what really was the problem was the horse had an ultra sore back. And, I get angry at myself that I didn't see it ahead of time, but that sore back created a huge problem with the horse. And you think a sore back, the horse wouldn't necessarily start, taking off bucking, but he's trying to get rid of that pain. And unfortunately, you're the one creating that pain. Your sheer weight is creating it. The saddle is creating it. And so once we were able to get rid of that pain, the bucking went away. So all of the training that I did, pointless. It was for no reason at all, because that wasn't the problem. So I guess my message here today, I feel like I'm going around in circles here, because this is a big topic of discussion, and I wasn't going to, go into all the great details with it, something that we most certainly could do, and we can most certainly go into bigger details. We go live, by the way, on our Leadership Club. We have a private Facebook Leadership Club group that we go live actually every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. If you guys are part of our Leadership Club, we'd love to see you on there. And we could go into an even bigger discussion of this, because there's so much to it. But yeah, I wanted the main message I really wanted to convey to you guys today is, no matter what, you may not be able to tell whether it's pain or attitude. And I don't think there's really one definitive way of saying, hey, the horse is doing this, it is pain, or hey, the horse is doing this, it is attitude. I think it's very circumstantial, and I think no matter what, you should always just go into it that a potential behavior issue stems from some sort of pain, period. Start there. Start with your vet. Start with your chiropractor. Start making sure that all of the other things are taken care of. The teeth are done. The horse is loose and limber, is in a great state of mind. All these things first before you start really going after that behavioral part of it. So change your mindset. Don't think it's attitude. Think it's pain first. Solve for the pain, or at least test for the pain. Find out what it could potentially be. Try to solve it. Try to solve the why that came. Why did the horse become in pain? Why was the back sore? Right? Did the horse have ulcers? Why was there problems in the SI? Why are there neck pains into the horse? Solve that why, then go into behavioral. So it's find the problem, try to solve that problem, solve the why did it happen, then go after behavioral, if that's even a case anymore. Sometimes it is, but most of the time, I'd say a good 80 to 85% of the time, that the muscle memory just goes away for most horses. The horse doesn't give you problems anymore. I'd say 10 to 15% is even a high number, to be honest with you. It's probably closer to 10. 10% of horses, after you solve for the pain, they just start working well for you. But with that being said, I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of a morning boost, thinking about your horses and thinking about things that you can do to kind of help them along the way. If you guys have any questions, something you want me to go over in our morning roast, hopefully you had a cup of coffee with me, feel free to leave a comment in this section. If not, you're always welcome to reach out to us any way possible. We'd also love to see you on our lives when we go onto our Leadership Club group every Wednesday night. We go farther in depth with everything. We answer questions, etc. So, like I said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next week. Have a great day, everybody.